Welcome back to another lesson of the Logos and Letters. My name is Liam. Gonna move on with chapter 7, just looking at the idea of contraries a little bit more up in this part, looking at what does have contraries, looking at examples of what doesn't. We're still building on this learning, and we're going to keep moving through piece by piece. But first, he raises an interesting point. To kai de kai to malon kai to heton epitekestai ta prosti. So you might recognize some of this language from previous lessons. So for example here, to malon kai to heton epitekestai, and prosti of course. So malon kai to heton, that's more or less, or degrees. Okay, and epitekestai is like receiving, taking up, and prosti is relation or relatives. Things are relative to one another, and so he's saying it seems, and so it seems that both more and less are received by relatives. He's going to give some examples now. So he says, homoion gar kai anum. Homoion gar kai anomoion malon kai heton legentai. So this is similar and dissimilar, or like and unlike, is said more or less. Okay, so kai ison kai anison malon kai heton legentai. So an equal and unequal, more or less are said. Hekateron auton prostion, right? Each of these is being a relation, some kind of relation. Totegar homoion tini homoion legetai kaito anomoion tini anomoion. So in this part, he's just saying that so like to something is like to something in particular, and something unlike is unlike to something in particular. U panta deta prosti epiteketai to malon kai heton. And he's clarifying, not all u panta, not all of the relatives receive or take up or accept more or less. Togar diplasion u legatai malon. You could have probably predicted what he was going to say there. So double, these things with quantities are not said to be more or less, and we've covered that in chapter 5 and chapter 6. We've covered how a substance and number do not accept of or take up more or less degrees. You can't be more or less substance to another substance. You can't be more or less number to another number. So 15 is just the same as another 15. Even if it's written differently, even if it's said with a different accent, doesn't matter. It's the same 15. It's 15 unities. And a unity is a unity. It's a substance is a substance. For more on that, I've written tens of thousands of words on that topic and explaining it piece by piece, step by step. But in the long and short of it, when you're saying one substance is more or less than another substance, you can actually figure out why that is the case if you accept the opposite position, that there can be more or less substance. And if you think about that and follow that train of thought, you start to understand that everything would change and there would be no anchor in the universe. There'd be no consistency or reliability in anything that you knew. But I'll leave that to you if you want. So, upanta deta prosti, yep, we read that. Togar diplasion, legatai malon kai heton diplasion. So there's no double that's more or less than another double. They're just equally double. Now, what the double is, whether it's 20 or 2, obviously that's they're unequal. But the doubleness, right? The actual diplasion, the doubleness is the same. They're both double something, okay? Let's continue on. Udeton, toyuton, uden, right? And so anything of the same sort goes the same. What he's saying, so whether triple, quadruple, quintuple, it all goes the same. There's no greater or lesser in that. Okay, if something is what it is, and something else is also the same, then x equals x, y equals y, a equals a, b equals b. Doesn't matter what the two a's are or the three a's are. All three a's, because they're a, are equal. All three doubles, because they're doubles, are equally double, although their quantity may be equal or not unequal. And what is this all to do with? Why are we speaking about degrees and equalness? It's because we are speaking about relatives. Okay, a double is a relative to a half, right? And that's why he's brought it up here. The reason why he's speaking about like or unlike is because he's speaking about these relatives. And what are some examples of that? Well, like or unlike happens in qualities. Okay, is this heat similar heat as another? Yes, so we can say it's similar. So that just that sort of language there. And we do use the words like and unlike when we speak about things that are relative. We also can use equal and unequal when we're speaking about relatives. Why? Because double and half are relatives. So all this language is included when we're speaking about relatives. You just need to pay attention to what type of relative you're speaking about. Now, if all this seems really abstract or just not practical or just extra things that you don't really want to learn, I would help you with that sort of thought by offering you the idea that in the most important conversations, in our everyday conversations, and in important texts such as the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Apocrypha too, if you're a Catholic or an Orthodox listening to this, the Deuterocanonical books, all of that, every single book has relatives in it. Most conversations speak about relatives. Most everyday and extraordinary conversations include relatives. So when relatives, such as knowledge and ignorance and white and black and half and double, are such bedrock of a everyday conversation or important text, learning this stuff helps you understand if your thinking about them is correct. Okay, if you say, if you think of, if someone says, I have twice the amount of money as you, I have double your money, you'll be able to think about that more clearly. You can say, well, yeah, true, you have double the money, but I only have $1, which means you have $2, right? So you can sort of cut through some things. What's a good expression for that? It's seeing through the smoke in a way. In many conversations, sometimes we fail to see what are relatives. We fail to see what are contraries, especially in the topic of virtues and vice. People can fail to see that you're either one or the other, and you can't be both. Why? Because if you could be both, that would break the law of non-contradiction. If you had a just, unjust man, that's breaking the law of contradiction. You're either one or the other. When you're reflecting about yourself and you're journaling, this is language that you can use with yourself, okay? You might be ignorant about a thing, but you might also realize that's where all human beings start with their knowledge, except first principles, okay? We always know that. That the point, that a line has infinite points. We can choose infinite points. Points are have no width or breadth. things like this, we just sort of intuit this. But when it comes to all other complex knowledge, we go from ignorance to knowledge. And you might be more gentle with yourself if you're finding that your learning journey isn't so instantaneous. You're like frustrated with yourself. You can remind yourself that all people took time to learn what they're learning, what they know. So if you're envious that a person can speak Italian and you can't, just for example, you can remind yourself that it took them hundreds and hundreds of hours, or if not thousands of hours, to obtain their proficiency. If you're very jealous that another person can play a musical instrument and you can't, just remind yourself that you need to commit to the same journey. All right, you're in the contrary position, that's true, but you can get to that other contrary if you try. The same goes with virtue. If you're really struggling with let's say, is there a vicious looking person here? Maybe your anger. Maybe you're a very angry person and you're working on that and you're trying to become less of an angry person, have tantrums less or lash out at people less. The worst thing that you could do is try to pretend that you're somewhere in the middle. Being honest with yourself that you either are a very angry person, a wrathful person, or you are a what's the opposite? What's a perfect opposite for wrathful? A measured or self-restrained person. You're either one or the other, and you don't want to deceive yourself. Okay? Same would go for, that's another vice that I can see here. Vanity. All right? If you're too vain and you're working on that, the best thing you can do, unlike Narcissus, is to admit that you're vain and admit that you have to move from one contrary to the other, and there's no real in between there. Okay, like this boy here, he's dedicated himself to the flute and the panpipe, or no, it's not panpipe, recorder or flute, I can't tell what that is, and now he can play it and he's enjoying a beautiful afternoon by what looks like a billabong, right, beneath some eucalyptus trees in the Australian outback, and he is, performing well, he's proficient, and all that pays off. He's gone from ignorant about the instrument to knowledge. So in short, in summary, what this particular topic is on paper at first view is quite disconnected from our lives, but we are building piece by piece the language that can explain the bedrock of our lives and everything that's relative. If you find that something is relative that you didn't understand, you understand it better. You understand how to speak about it better, in terms of likeness and unlikeness. And that's another thing as well. Two people will never really have the same proficiency in an instrument. You can either be like them or unlike them. And that's another way to articulate things. I'm just giving you food for thought here. Everything that I'm saying has more implications for it, but I'll leave it there. Again, these lessons here aren't meant to be exhaustive. I'm just indicating for you now how this disconnected stuff really is connected on a profound, inextricable level. So I'll leave that there. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found something interesting or entertaining. As you can tell, a lot of this is related to ethics. And I could go on all day about how this is related to the writings of the Stoics, such as Seneca and Aurelius, and a little bit of Cicero, definitely Epictetus, Montaigne, and his essays, even though he's sort of a neo-Stoic in a way. But yeah, so I'll leave that there. In the next one, we are going to be speaking about correlatives, which are a brand new type of relative. Things that correlate and their rules. The language here gets difficult to translate. I tell you what, I mean, hodulos despotudulos legetai. I mean, it's pretty cool, but bear with me. Show me some compassion if it's hard going here. All right, I'll leave that there for now. Thank you so much for your time, and as always, si semper fortis in opere tuo. I'll see you next time.